Scary Werewolf Friend. Dear Scary Stories NYC, I have a scary werewolf friend, and it is not an imaginary friend. I am 18 years old, not a young child. When I was a kid, I did have an imaginary friend back then, but he was a Bigfoot, not a Dogman or werewolf. I am currently trying to find out if the creature I've become friends with is a Dogman or werewolf, and by that I mean I'm trying to understand if this is a shapeshifter or not. I'll get into all of that, but let me start at go, not in the middle. I am living in the Midwest, but I'd better not tell you exactly where. It's not urban, I'll say that much. It's practically the country, but my parents call it suburbia. I've still got both my parents, and we're the only family on our block that still has married parents in 2024. When we moved in, I was 8, Obama was president, and all the houses on both sides of my block were owned by married couples. And now I hear even the gay couple are getting divorced. But my mom and dad are somehow still together. So I'm a lucky guy, especially in this day and age. I'm a senior at school, and if I do end up choosing a college, my parents will most likely cover the costs for me, meaning no college loans to pay off in the future. I'm thinking of possibly learning a trade instead, like a few of my other friends. I noticed that a lot of the people right into you are divorced and living in a tent or something like that. I just want to say that isn't me. I'm what they call privileged, really, at least in a lot of ways. I'm too young to have got myself canceled yet, and my future seems possibly rosy. At least I have no complaints. And the cherry on top of it all is that I get to be friends with a creature that sure seems to be a dogman or werewolf. I mean, he's got a dog-like head, but he walks up on his hind legs, and his arms are held back, so he appears to have shoulders like we do. He creates a very humanoid silhouette. When I see him walking in the distance, it's pretty spooky. It's like a mix between seeing a werewolf from the movies and seeing Anubis from the ancient legends mixed together. Then when he emerges into the light, I can see it's just my friendly friend, and I'm always so happy to see him. Maybe I'm the only person alive who uses the word happy to describe his feelings toward the dreaded Midwestern Dogman, but I'm really the happiest I've ever been in my entire 18 years on this planet. Since I was a kid, I felt a kinship with monsters. When I would watch monster films, I would identify with them, and I would cry when the villagers set them on fire or drowned them at the end of the stories. I would identify with all of them indiscriminately, too. From Frankenstein to Godzilla. My favorite movie back then was Monster Squad. So you can imagine how incredible it is for me to get to be friendly with a real-life werewolf or dogman. First of all, he's not like the Wolfman in the Monster Squad, although I still love that movie. The monsters in it are really kind of scary for a kid's film, including the werewolf. But in real life, the dogman I know is even scarier than that. I'm familiar with him, so it can be easy to forget that. But I have pointed him out to people a few times, and judging by their reactions, this is a pretty scary creature. When I'm walking alone in the woods near our home, he will often come out and walk with me. When I'm with someone else, though, then he'll stand back in the woods and watch me for a signal as to whether it would be safe for him to approach or not. I know this because if I look around enough in those woods, I can always find him. And look around is what I do. Because even if you're his friend, you want to keep tabs on which direction he's in, from your position. He can charge through the brush so quickly that you need every split second you can get to avoid being knocked down by him when he charges. And this dogman, he thinks charging you and knocking you down is the funniest game there is. This dogman plays rough, but if you play rough back, and if you don't whine about it, you can gain his respect. Once he respects you, then he walks with you. Or at least, that's how it worked out for me. But when I'm with someone, he will hold back and watch. I brought one guy I know with me one evening to see the dogman. This guy had been making fun of me in front of girls at school. He called me dog boy and things like that. He dared me to take him to see the dogman, so I was just obliging him. While we were walking into the woods, he continued to mock me and the dogman. "So where's the big bad monster?" he asked. I pointed. "He's right over there, see?" He looked to where I was pointing and suddenly his laughing trailed off. Now that's just some kind of dog? He started the sentence as a statement, but he ended it as a question. He kept staring at my scary forest friend off in the brush. I clapped my hands and whistled, calling the Dogman over, and the bushes erupted in shaking and noise as the beast ran over to us. My schoolmate didn't get to see the Dogman for more than 1 second, before all the color drained from his face, and his eyes rolled up into his head. He fell a bit forward to the ground in such a funny collapsed position that I was afraid his bones had melted. The werewolf ran off when the guy collapsed to the ground, and I found myself trying to revive my unconscious schoolmate. After a while, I realized this guy was out like a light, but he was otherwise fine. I took out my big black marker and I wrote, "Dogman is real," in block letters on his forehead. Then I blackened the end of his nose, drew whiskers on his cheeks, and walked off to continue my day. I'm trying to remember my first time seeing the Wolfman, but now that I think about it, the creature first used to appear to this girl named Janet. She was the first to tell me about the Dogman back when we were both sophomores. People made fun of her for talking about her scary werewolf friend, but none of them had the courage to go into the woods with her and find out if she was lying or not. I did, and soon it was the three of us, me, Janet, and the Wolfman or Dogman, all playing ball and playing fetch in the woods after school. Janet's family moved to Texas, and I guess I sort of inherited the Dogman. Originally, I would walk to Janet's neighborhood woods to see the creature, but he started to pop up in the woods near me after her family moved. I've tried to introduce new guys and girls in the area to him, but so far he just kinda causes me to lose my friendships with these people. Even the ones who think I'm telling the truth assume the words I'm using are code for something else. Like, sometimes guys have actually thought I was flirting with them when I told them about my cryptid experiences. One guy thought I was saying something about having a boyfriend. The Dogman is not my boyfriend. I am attracted to human females, not male canines. When I'm saying werewolf, I'm just trying to describe what this creature looks like. And that is, well, he's a big man, but not like King Kong or Mighty Joe Young. He's, I guess, 7 feet, maybe even a bit taller when he stands out fully, but he doesn't really do that very often, especially when he's running around in the forest. Most of the time when I'm either walking with him or hanging out on a rock or log together with him, his face isn't really all that much above mine. He sort of collapses his giant self down somewhat so he can be on your level, or at least closer down toward it. He can make himself look larger when he wants to be frightening, but he seems to spend a lot more effort making himself appear smaller, or even hiding his presence entirely. In fact, he's pretty good at hiding, but not in the Bigfoot way of standing behind a tree and peeking out. Like I'm struggling to explain, he just knows how to crouch his body and appear far smaller than he really is. He's collapsible, I guess you could say, but when he rises to full size, I say a prayer of thanks that he's on my side, and not out to get me. Although I've only been play-stalked by the creature, I have learned that he is all about the element of surprise. Although the werewolf is bigger than any man I've ever seen, he knows how to hide his immense size and massive weight until the last second, so that you are in no way gonna be prepared for it when he decides to attack you. And I've seen him devouring deer that look like they weighed more than me, so I know he would be able to take a fully grown man down for food if he wanted to, or if he needed to. I'm very lucky that he sees me as a playmate and a fellow traveler, instead of seeing me as lunch. I don't think I would stand a chance trying to defend myself against this, or any Dogman, if one of them were to really attack me. That having been said, he's a guy who in many ways is just like us, and just like our pet dog friends. He loves to play, and he has an emotional attachment to me just as I have to him. He's bigger than I am, so I can't call him my pet werewolf. I would say it's more like I've become his pet human, to be honest. I mean, it's a friendship, but for the most part, he is the one more in control over the friendship, not me. The Dogman decides if and when I will see him. The Dogman decides what we're gonna do when he does. There were even times when he's come to our house and tapped on my window to get me up to go out to play with him. Of course, that hasn't happened recently. That all ended after Dad put game cameras up around the house, 'cause he wanted to see what was pulling tiles off the house roof. I think it must have been the werewolf as he climbed up to see me at night. Once those cameras went up though, the Dogman went back to meeting me in the woods. I don't know why he won't come near anymore, but I assume he's afraid of the cameras. Maybe he knows what they do, and maybe they just seem like evil magic to him. But in either case, he's smart enough to know to stay away from in front of them, and my father's gotten zero images or video of my scary friend. I sometimes hear stories from other people about seeing strange large creatures in our neck of the woods. I always listen into those stories when I can. I don't always share my own stories in return though, because some of these people are very frightened by their experiences, and they feel very hateful toward the Dogman. Some of them have even expressed an interest in hurting or capturing the creature, and so I don't just blurt out that I know where to find him. I want to keep the werewolves' trust more than I want to know these people, if I'm just going to get real about it. One guy told me this story that I'll repeat here anonymously. I had to keep a straight face when he told me this because I'm pretty sure that he was seeing the same Dogman who's friendly toward me. If not, then at least the description of his creature matched mine, and this happened about a 40-minute walk through the woods from my family's back door. So this guy said he was with his girlfriend who, just between you and me, was out of this guy's league to start with. She had just moved to our area, and she had this haircut like Kelly McGillis in that old Top Cruise movie from the 80s. Once her hair started looking more modern though, and she grew up just a little bit more, she was going to be leaving this guy anyway. But the Dogman, he just sped the process up a little bit. So what happened was that the two of them were sitting on a big boulder in the woods, and they were, flirting or whatever it is that they would do when they were alone. It was starting to get dark, and the girl wanted him to walk her back. Then, as they started to get up to go, it sounds to me like my Dogman friend happened to wander past the two of them. At least that was how I interpreted what he was telling me. To this guy, however, the Dogman jumped into the clearing deliberately, trying to scare them. The girl screamed, and the guy told me angrily that he soiled his pants. I say he told me angrily because he blamed the werewolf for this happening. The Dogman ran away from these two screaming, panicking people, and then the girl noticed a horrible smell, like a backed-up septic tank. At first the guy tried to blame the Dogman for the odor, but then the girl figured out it was the guy she was smelling. And that was the end of their budding romance. So this guy was all angry and he blamed the Dogman, saying he ruined his life. He went into this dramatic tirade about how that girl was going to be the mother of his children. But then the Dogman came along and altered the future history of planet Earth. He was acting so unreasonably that you would have thought he was discussing politics. So yeah, that's why I don't publish where I live when I tell these stories. I'm afraid I'll get my friend hurt. Or worse. I met a girl who is 1 year behind me in school who swears that the Dogman is some kind of a plot of the patriarchy. Her logic seems flawed to me, but she has a lot of energy she puts into her arguments. She gets angry at you if you interrupt or disagree. So I stopped doing either early on, and I just listen to her when she starts yelling. It hurts my brain. But she tells me that's because I can never be as smart as a female activist. And I agree with her. For instance, I don't understand this. Maybe you can explain it to me. The Dogman has never hurt that woman, and he's never hurt me. Yet somehow she tells me she is the Dogman's victim, and I am complicit in his victimization of her. Now I don't understand how. I just know I'm supposed to feel bad about it for some reason. I would rather not live in her world though. I would rather live in the one where I get to be friends with the upright walking canid that lives in the woods behind my family's home. There's even this guy I met at school who claims he's a werewolf hunter. Part of his whole worldview is that there's no such thing as a Dogman. He says all creatures we perceive as Dogman are in reality werewolves, who at least used to be part human. He had these different names for different kinds of werewolves, but he said some turn back every night, while others become the werewolf and stay that way for the rest of their lives. I don't remember if he said whether this was by choice or not, whether the werewolves choose to remain in that form or if they have no choice. But in either case, this guy felt they should be eliminated. And I don't know if he actually owns any weapons, but he'll talk at length to me about silver crossbolts and things of that nature. 99% of what he says flies over my head or under my feet, and I don't really know if he makes sense or if he's just blathering on about nonsense. I know that when he starts talking like that, it makes me feel even more protective of my scary werewolf friend. And now I don't know personally if the creature I'm writing to you about is a dogman or a werewolf, and outside of stories and legends, I can't say that I know for sure what the differences might actually be. Even if we did an analysis of the creature's DNA, how much is that actually going to tell us? How much do we really know about anything anyway? I used to think that humans had figured so much out, and then the last few years happened, and I realized I was acting like a kid. Adults don't seem to actually know very much of anything at all, and the ones who admit that get fired and replaced by people who are willing to act, like the establishment has everything figured out. Ask any biologist who wants to keep his job if werewolves or dogmen are real. If you're lucky, they'll laugh at you in the face, and if you're unlucky, they'll break your nose when they slam the door in your face. And yet I can walk out into these woods behind my parents' house in my usual morning or evening times, and I know that 19 times out of 20, this dogman that doesn't officially exist will officially greet me in his officially friendly manner. It's like there's the stuff they want you to think, and then there's actual real life, which doesn't care what they think about it. It just exists. In reality. Like you and me and whatever that dogman is that I hope to meet up with again tomorrow morning.
If you want a coloring book full of monstrous delight, then give this a look. It'll give you a fright, right? Scary stories, coloring book, werewolf coloring book. And just to make your mind explode, it's a digital download. All it costs is $2.09, and then you will be feeling fine. Coloring monsters today, hey, it's a coloring book, hooray. Okay, link is in the description.
Philo 2077, they sent us some euro. Philo 2077 saved us from the credit bureau. Please join me in thanking Philo 2077 who donated to us using the thanks button located under each of our videos on YouTube. Thanks Philo. We couldn't do it without cool people like you. To find out the different ways you can help us and the ways to get perks, listen to what our international TV spokesmongrel, Henry Lee Dogman, has to say. Hank? Thanks, Biggie. And thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button, or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that one. It cuts off after I think 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
back for more scary stories.